So, hello everyone. I'm Simone with Unlock Your Design. I'm here today with Ashley. Bella's doing some other work, but we're in the middle. We've just started our season 2 of our Living the Body series. And we are so super thrilled about this series, The Cauldron, medicinal foods, Chinese medicine, the I Ching, and human design. And today we're going to do an overview. Um, our special guest, Teresa Padilla, has 2 doctorates, has studied Chinese medicine in the I Ching for almost 20 years. She joined our Portals of Deconditioning container, and I was so blown away by the wisdom she's been sharing in our Portals of Deconditioning container. We asked her if she would like to be our feature for season 2 of Living the Body. Teresa, welcome.
Yay.
Thank you.
I'm nervous today.
That's okay. Deal with that. That's okay.
I was used to speaking one-on-one, and I'd get on stage in front of a bunch of people, fine, but in here, I'm really nervous.
I completely understand. This has been an interesting journey for me of being live, and I can just say that, be with that. And I know that it gets easier over time from my own experience. And by episode 5, you'll be like, yeah. So Teresa, I was so moved by the wisdom that you shared that, in full disclosure, I immediately booked an appointment with Teresa, and I've started working with her with medicinal foods, and I'm learning so much. And it's been a really amazing experience. And Teresa, where would this is our overview call, kind of sharing with people. Do you want to start by sharing your own story of how you came to this in your own life, or where would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure. Today I posted something kind of to let people know about that this was going on. And, I woke up, you remember different things, but kind of humbled and grateful. But remembering kind of things with food related in my life.
Mhm.
And it kind of started off with my mom, who had always had trouble with her weight. And so she was always doing something. I remember some cabbage soup that she made, which was probably one of the best things that she did, now that I know the medicinal foods. But she did that for weight loss, and she ate that about a half an hour before every meal. And then she did lose quite a bit of weight, but it was over a period of time that she did this. And my insight this morning was that kind of shaped how I wasn't real comfortable with my body from that experience as a woman, because it was a struggle for her. And I have a 6-year-old grandson that it's a similar kind of struggle. And those things were connected this morning, not with food, but with love and receiving nourishment and being open and, so receptive to when people close down, because he's just a bundle of joy, energy. And my insight this morning was that, I'm really becoming aware that food is the deepest conditioning I believe that we have, because it's connected with our survival on a very deep level. So when we use food to really nourish ourselves, not just fit it in, not just be habitual with it or struggle with it, what happens is that we feel safe, we feel loved, we feel nourished, and we can open up and let other people love us. And this is kind of the thing that my grandson's going through. So this was all in my mind this morning. Um, in relationship to really using food as nourishment. That's really my journey of how I even found the medicinal foods, and the I Ching is for balance and nourishment in the center of my life. Um, and I think I haven't had so much of a struggle in relationships, but I've had a struggle in being able to balance like systems or activities, and being able to feel okay, and really aligned, with that. And having food as the center of that for me has helped me to nourish everything in my life. So that's kind of what I'm going through today, kind of overview.
Uh, I'm, really blown away because I started my journey with you. What was it? Maybe a month or 6 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And having that same experience of food as nourishment and feeling how alive my body feels afterwards. And so it was really surprising to me, um, recently when I had this, I've been pretty vocal about the 35 is my evolution sphere, and reading the Gene Keys book and understanding how the 35 has the portal to the collective consciousness of hunger, insert whatever that hunger is. And knowing that has helped me so much. But as a person who has struggled with, you know, weight, I'm 5 foot tall. It's very easy for me to gain weight, and it's very hard for it to come off. I've struggled, and so I've been working with the medicinal foods and preparing the food and feeling how alive. And so a couple weeks ago, I had this experience where I went to the hunger and ate, 3 half peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I felt really bad the next day. And that night I didn't sleep much, and um, really using that experience to dive deep. And what was it about the peanut butter? And that took me to experiences as an infant when my grandmother tried to force feed me cereal, which I have a soft food thing. I don't eat soft foods. And they couldn't force the cereal in. And so they figured out that I would eat peanut butter. And my father was in the Navy, and he wasn't there, to, in a sense, protect me as a baby. And so my father's in the last stages of Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
So there's the grief tied in to the hunger and all these things with food. And I'm doing my own work. And I realized that in my own nervous system, food and people have merged.
Oh.
So as you talk about your grandson, I'm right there with you. And what I'm, the nervous system loop that I'm unpacking is how eating is about relationships for me. It's about the people in my life and how food and people have merged, and how by taking the time to think about what I'm nourishing myself with, not only the people, not only the food, but the people. Who am I spending my time with? And what do I value? And what is my relationship with the person, and how that mirrors my relationship with what I'm eating, and my willingness to, you know, invest time and energy in the food that I eat and be conscious about it. So it's, I feel like there's probably something in the cosmos right now, because these are things that are bubbling up for all of us. Maybe for you who
I
are
thought I better bring my tissue for this one, and I could feel it coming on already.
right, right.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. When you're, as I'm listening to you, it's interesting because I understand where some way what you're going through with Alzheimer's. My mom had Alzheimer's and my dad had Parkinson's. So, it kind of definitely comes in waves. And in Chinese medicine, the opposite of the lungs, which grief is, the lungs are the organ system that process the grief in our lives. And the opposite of that is the liver and the gallbladder, or the nervous system that works with the nervous system. So when you have something that's kind of dominant, like the grief in your life, so the lung would be dominantly working through that grief, helping you work through that grief. The weakest, the opposite of that dominant organ is the weakest, and that would be the nervous system. So that goes to the lowest point, or the least line of resistance, which it sounds like, kind of like that memory, to use more the least line of the resistance. But as you're working with that and bring awareness to it, then it comes up, and then you kind of raise the bar where they become more more equal or more balanced, so to speak.
Wow. And so then, if I'm following you, so lungs process grief, so I'm dealing with grief, and my body goes to nervous system. So as I'm working my lungs, and the opposite is the nervous system. So then I'm feeling the pressure of that overworkingness in my nervous system. Is that?
Oh, is that what you feel it is pressure?
Well, like it activated, I guess, what activated was a nervous system loop in me that began when I was an infant. And so in that experience of overeating, right, or using peanut butter to somehow soothe myself, I could have done a variety of things. I could have said, oh, let me make myself wrong for this, or beat myself up, or feel bad about it. But instead, I dug in, and I was like, oh, what is this? And what I was able to uncover was the nervous system loop. And so I didn't, in that moment, I didn't understand this whole connection that you're revealing for us in how the body system is working. So I'm asking you the question of, when my lungs are overworking and that they're really activated, and then you said the opposite of that would be the nervous system. So does my nervous, so can you talk to us about that? Using, if you're processing grief or something that activates in the lungs, how the nervous system then comes into play with what's going on in your system.
Yeah. If you can bring up that slide on the triple warmer system, because it kind of works with that, and that would give.
Okay, fantastic. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to share my screen and take us to the presentation. And we'll go to presentation mode. Sorry. And then we'll go to this slide right here.
Yeah. And I love that you created that picture, Simone. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Talk to us about it.
The reason, just a little backtrack, the reason why I mean, I wanted to call this, and I think you were synonymous with this or unanimous with it, the series, The Cauldron, is because it is one of the I Ching hexagrams, for one. It's one of the ones that just spoke to me. And then when I started studying Chinese medicine, this triple warmer system sometimes is called the cauldron because of how it operates in our body and in our lives. So it's so important, the triple warmer. I'm finding more and more how this triple warmer system is important to us. And I really believe, now that I'm really deep in the deconditioning with the Unlock Your Design, which I absolutely love, the portals of deconditioning. I am revealing, there's supposed to be this, we have an evolutionary process that's going through our bodies right now, that moving into, we'll have a whole new kind of body that operates. It's more receptive and more right-brained oriented and more intuitive and more sensitive. And I really believe that this triple warmer, which is, they call the San Jiao. San means three, and Jiao means scorched or burners. So these three places of warmth that operate with all of our system. And in the Taoist lore, the cauldron is the word that's used, and it means chakras. So these three really energy transformers that are the triple burners or triple warmers is like an invisible meridian that I believe is helping prepare our bodies for that next mutation that's occurring. And it occurs all the time, whether, I mean, there's going to be, I believe, a drastic change in how we operate with our bodies, but all the time our bodies are changing every day. So with your experience, these three warmers, the bottom one, is, people who have studied martial arts, they might know it as the three dantians. It's the same thing that they use. The bottom one is the fire, and that's related to the kidneys, bladder, large and small intestines, uterus, and the genitalia. Then we have the middle one, or the core, and that's related to the stomach, spleen, liver, and gallbladder organ systems. Then the upper, which works with the head, heart, pericardium, throat, lungs, triple warmer. And these three put together, it's like an invisible meridian that processes heaven to earth, earth to heaven, processes the right to the left, left to the right, processes, if you are studying human design system, the body design to the personality design and back. And that's why Simone put it, the G center behind that, because this is kind of, it works with the earth element. That's the core. And the magnetic monopole. So the central pillar of love is another place to call it. And with your experience that you're having, and the experience that I was talking about, this it's called the cauldron because you need these three burners. They're like pilot lights to keep going. They need to be in a balance, not real high excess, like possibly eating for you wasn't that high, but it was too much for you, the three peanut butter sandwiches. Mm-hmm. Excess, or if you have deficient, you don't have enough food that you're eating every day to provide nourishment, you're going to have an imbalance. But And so those pilot lights need to keep burning in a balanced fashion in order to really remove blockages and have no resistance. And what this triple warmer system does is it works with all the waterways and all of the chi. So it is what allows us to be open and also what allows us to be blocked. So like, for example, like say you like coffee and maybe somebody drinks coffee all the time. Well, coffee, every food has a medicinal property. Coffee is very yang oriented, and so therefore it does stimulate the nervous system. It is a being, so it goes to the kidneys first and foremost. So it would be a lower warmer food primarily, but it does rise to the middle warmer because it's very yang and affect the liver and the nervous system. Now, if you drank too much coffee, because this is an extreme yang food, it absolutely actually flips to the opposite. And then it turns into cold. And then you can have blocked lower warmer or blocked kidneys because they become too cold because you actually, now it's reversed itself. That's just an example of how we can work with this. What are you thinking, Simone?
Yeah, I'm fascinated. So, you know, I love the example with coffee because I think people can really relate to you know, drinking coffee. And Ashley asked, what about people who are doing fast? So we have the example of too much coffee, flipping the working with the lower warmer and shifting it from fire to cold to the opposite of what it really needs to be to keep that triple burner in flow, right?
Yeah.
But so then what about an example of when people don't, you know, they're fasting or they are not nourishing the body with enough? What happens then?
I don't personally believe in fasting for me because of this, and I'll tell you why. The middle burner needs consistent source of nourishment. It needs that food in order to keep the pilot light on. And one of my memories this morning that I didn't share was that I used to faint when between 14 and 16. I would just pass out. And you know, they called it epileptic at that time because any time of passing out was a form of a seizure. Now I know that I was anemic and I didn't have enough nourishment in my blood to be strong enough with my blood to balance the energy that was rising in puberty at that time.
Wow.
So I fainted. I lost consciousness. So what happens when you don't have consistent source of nourishment that you feed all of your organ systems, then they function in depletion mode and they can stop functioning. The pilot lights or the warmth goes out. When that happens, it becomes a chronic condition in the body because then you're now affecting the yin organs. The outer organs are yang and they're more strong and open and more able to handle exposure because that's what they're made for. The yin organs are inside and more internal and they're covered up. And so something affects the internal organs, it becomes chronic and it takes a much longer time to heal at this time. And one of the I see it almost every day. And I see it mostly in women, is that their blood they're anemic because they just don't have a consistent source of nourishment enough. You know, and when I started using Chinese medicine in the food therapy, one thing I like about it is you can eat. You don't have to stop eating. And in fact, when you do eat and feed, like one of the things to balance something out is to bring in another food, not to stop eating. And I really learned that it's not the food itself that is weight. It is the balance of it and the use of it that creates excess or deficiency. And for example, one of the things that leads to a shutdown is what I call food stagnation. And what happens here is, say, there's a lot of things that can lead to food stagnation, but one of them is if you are eating too much food. That would be an obvious thing, right? Because then your body's going to shut down. If you don't have enough food, the body's going to shut down purposefully so that it can start feeding itself, because it's going to be in survival mode, and it shuts down when it does that. Another thing is if we try to eat food in the nighttime when our body's shutting down and trying to go inside. It's like feeding your yard a bunch of water at nighttime, which a lot of people do, but it leads to a swamp. It can't take in the water because photosynthesis is not taking place. There's no light in order to create photosynthesis, in order to absorb the nutrients and take them in. So the water just sits there and builds up like sludge and creates fungus in our bodies. What happens, it's like a swamp that just keeps building up and creates food stagnation. And so that's where we get inflammation, and that's one of the leading causes of actual weight gain.
Inflammation.
Or inflammation is food stagnation. So it's learning how to use foods in the right time, the right season, the consistent amount, in harmony with your moods, in harmony with your environment, in harmony with the people that you're with, in harmony with light and dark. It's learning to tune into nature for that kind of balance, rather than turn away from it and say, I know what I can do. I can do this anyway. It backs up over time.
Beautiful. So then you've given us an example of imbalance in fire, and you've given us an example of imbalance with food in that middle jiao. How about an example with the upper jiao, where the smoke mist is?
Yeah, that's so interesting. One of my favorite times is fall and the season of fall and autumn. And part of it is because of the mist that rises, from the open waters and the ground, the open pores, and coming from the heavens as well. And when those two meet, it's so beautiful. But this is what's happening in the body as well. You have a fermentation process that's happening in the middle jiao that's naturally occurring. And because the stomach always wants to churn. It always wants to churn. And the spleen is separating out the juices from that. And one thing, I think I talked to you about this, Simone, is a good way to see if you actually have processed your food and it's not backing up, is to see if it's called the ileocecal valve, which is actually the sphincter that's at the end of the small intestine and the large intestine. And it's on it would be the left side of your body.
I'm going to stand up and let's walk us through. Maybe you can do you, but I'm happy to do me.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yeah, right there on the left side, kind of underneath the rib cage.
Okay, so here's the bottom of my rib cage.
Okay.
My hip though.
At the bottom of the go to the navel, your navel, and go to the left. straight, and then go down a little bit. There'll be a spot, and usually it's a little bit sore sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That you should feel open about 20 minutes after you eat something. If you
Right in
don't,
here. Yeah. Oh,
if
I found it. I hit it. You know what? I got it when it felt sore, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
and if you don't feel that opening up about 20 minutes to half an hour after you eat, then you've got food stagnation. And what that means is you've got a blockage. One of the best things that you can do immediately to help is walk.
Mm-hmm.
Walking synchronizes, the right and left sides, the body and the personality, and the triple warmer system helps synchronize that. So that's one of the best things that you can do. And I'll actually, if you're in an office building, you can walk about 200 steps. I just used to like make up things after I ate lunch, and walk around the office, go pick up things from different parts of the office so I could get my steps in if I couldn't go walk outside.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening with that middle jowl is that mist is rising off of that fermentation that's sitting there, a natural process of ripening and also rottening is what's happening.
Mm.
And then that mist is coming up, and an expiration or aspiration, and it's rising up. And then what's happening is it's going to moisten the lungs. It's going to help us to have that saliva that helps us to break down the food in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And what can happen here sometimes is that we have obstruction in the lungs, say. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe we're eating too much cheese. Here's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Or dairy. A lot of people are allergic to dairy and cheese, and I believe the reason why is because they have food stagnation. So if they have that middle burner that's shut down, and you're going to eat something that takes a lot for your body to process it, well, you're going to have an allergic reaction with the lungs because it can't go down. It can't go up. You don't want it going up either. I mean, but that's what's going to happen. You're going to have acid reflux. You're going to have all these burning sensation because it can't go down because the middle warmer is blocked.
So that might be okay. You might feel you might have acid reflux. It's like coming up. You might
Yeah.
is that when you feel
Belching,
bloated?
belching,
Yeah.
a lot of
Belching.
belching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that also be bloating, the feeling of bloating or
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and in Chinese medicine, we call this rebellious qi
Mm.
because it's going the wrong direction.
Oh, okay. Rebellious chi is going the wrong direction.
Right. And the reason why it's rebellious because we're creating that rebelliousness. The body's not. We're doing it because we're not in harmony with nature or in tune with the body. So
Wow.
that's a good way of saying, oh, I've got rebellious chi. Okay, it's going the wrong direction. So there are different things to help with that. Like, say, what green tea is one of the best foods to cut fats and to help break down cheese and fat and things like that immediately. It
And
does.
just a regular green tea, any kind of green tea.
Yeah, I mean, well, now we have additives to our products. So I try to get more of a pure green tea. I use this called Pukka, Pukka, or
Mhm.
traditional medicinal, or I will just get a natural green tea at an herb place.
Mhm.
So is what I try to get with my green tea.
Okay. And you would drink that green tea after the meal, or when would you drink the green tea?
Yeah, about maybe 15 minutes afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, and that helps a lot. Now,
Mhm.
one of the best things for the stomach to help with food stagnation is an apple.
Mm.
It really is true. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's an old wise saying that is definitely true. It also helps, is very sustaining. So if you can't eat food and you need something and you can't really get some food in right then, and an apple is a really good thing to tie yourself over that will help really nourish your body a
So
lot.
how does that work? How does the, what's going on there? What are the mechanics of we eat the apple? How does that work in this triple burner
Okay, well, the
system?
apple is round, and most round things go to the stomach uh, and spleen systems.
Okay.
So for one, it's going to go to this organ system that's pertaining to the triple warmer. So
Okay.
that's already, you've got something that's going to help you there.
Okay.
Two, an apple you usually have to chew a lot, unless it's cooked in some form. But if it's a raw apple, you're going to have to chew it. So if you chew it, that means you're going to create digestive enzymes that help to break stuff down already. What some people do is they drink while they're eating. What happens when you do that is that the body says, well, I don't need my digestive enzymes.
Mm.
So it just stops the reproduction of the digestive enzymes over time. And the digestive enzymes are there to help, once again, break that food down so that you can process it, so that you can absorb it in the small intestine and have the excess go down to the large intestine.
Mm.
So it really is good if to not drink while you're eating, in the midst of eating, to wait. Now, if you have a really dry throat, that's another issue. That's because we've got a yin and yang balance. So say that moisture is not really coming off of the food, and maybe you're taking in too many hot foods, or a dry food that people use all the time, and it's a spice, is black pepper.
Mm.
And that actually helps dry our intestines down, dry our kidneys when you use too much of it. So sometimes the throat can be dry, and that's why people want to drink. But if you do, I would suggest just take a little bitty drink, enough to prime the pump, so to speak.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So as I'm listening to you, it almost feels like, and I'm looking at the screen share. I'm gonna go back to I have to stop it, and then hold on just a second. I'm gonna go back to screen share here. Um, oh, well, that didn't work. Let me try again. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, so those
Here,
wonderful.
yeah, I wanted to take us back to the. Oh, here we go. Oh, that's not the right one. I wanted to, so imagine, if you will, I'm struggling to get us back there, but the fire, the food, and the mist smoke. Imagine that screen. So as I was listening to you, it almost feels like, like the first thing that might go out of balance is the fire. It almost seemed like it was a ranking system, and the more chronic things are out of balance, that's when you start to see the mist being out of balance. Is that a fair understanding of?
Yeah, that's what can happen. Actually, heart failure, uh, one of the reasons why it occurs is because there's fluid that can't be resolved in the lungs.
Hmm.
And so now, if you see how these work together, is that if you've got a block in your kidneys, and then that goes up to the middle burner, and then you've got food stagnation there, and that gets backed up even farther, then it creates sluggishness within the lungs and the breathing, as well as what you're putting in to your body through the mouth, then over a period of time, I mean, the heart's going to shut down.
Mm.
So we actually have a lot of things that we can do to aid that, to where we don't have to have that happen. And that's one of the things that I really like about medicinal foods, is because, you know, if 70% of the population, you know, had a medicinal diet, and really honored the food that they were taking in
Mm-hmm.
with nourishment, I mean, we would have a peaceful, healthy, harmonious, nature-filled environment most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It would just have to be that way.
So then this is taking us to what we're going to talk about over the course of trying to get us back, sorry. The course of the whole series. Do you want to maybe walk us through the progression of each of the episodes? We've kind of gotten an overview today, or was there more to relate the triple warmer to the magnetic monopole before we talk about the overview?
I think that's, I mean, I said what I wanted to. Have you, Simone? With
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I do. And it felt like, this is a great segue into connecting the structure of the whole series. So
Yeah.
everyone can understand, okay, this is why we're going to start here and then go here and go here and go here. So let me see if I can pull that.
Yeah.
slide
Next week, we're going into the medicinal foods more.
Mhm.
And so we're going to talk more about the properties, the energetic properties of the food. I mean, my teacher that I studied with, he would always say, physics trumps chemistry. Almost all the time. And I'm like, okay, what are you talking about here? And what he was describing is that the culture that you grow the food in, the environment that the food is grown in, goes into the food. You can't take it out of it. Chemistry is more, related to the amino acids and to not necessarily the environment that something is grown in.
Mm.
So what he was talking about is that the physics, the environment will always trump the chemistry.
Interesting.
So, and that's kind of exciting, because when we start talking, we're going to go from the energetic properties of foods. And that's when you can start asking questions about different foods that you eat, and how you can, what maybe something that you might, an ailment that you might have, and how can you benefit that, and what food would benefit that. We're going to go into that next week. And some recipes that you can use to aid certain things. Then the week after that, we're going more into the I Ching system and working with, where the medicinal food really came from, with the 5,000-year-old system where they observed nature and how it worked with the seasons. They were the ones that figured out that there actually is an earth element that helps to, they saw this by observing in nature, that between seasons, there was an element that kind of went back into the earth and then came back out. They observed this in nature. And that was the earth element that helps us to move through transitions in our life, that helps us to move, period. That is that core, or that middle warmer as well, is tied to that earth element. So this 5,000-year-old system has these transits, and they relate to our lives and the environment that we live in. So we're going to learn more about that environment then. And then the last week, we're going to learn more about how that works with the human design system and our color motivation
Mhm.
and our brain cognition with our body environment. And that's exciting to me to work with the medicinal foods with that. That's
Super,
exciting.
super exciting. And I think I can pull the slide back up now. Let's see. I'm gonna go to view, present. All right. So um, you can see next week's agenda. And I'm so excited, Teresa, for you to go into more of this environment chemistry aspect and to hear some, to share some of the medicinal foods and things that you've been sharing with me that I have really loved so much. I think one of the things that surprised me as I'm in the summer realm is that, well, two big ahas for me. I'm a cold in my human design. My PHS is cold, and so uh, having eating hot foods, I always had water because you eat hot foods, and for me, growing up, one of the beliefs or the things that was said a lot: eat your food while before it gets cold. Eat your food before it gets cold. And I've had this natural thing that I really like foods that are cold, but eat your food before it gets cold. So eating hot food and being Cajun, all the hot spice, and that is opposite of my PHS. And one of the things that I've noticed with the recipes that you send me is everything's cooked, and in summer I would enjoy, like fresh salad and uncooked foods. And I've noticed that my summer recipes are a lot of cooked. Everything's cooked down. And you gave me that fabulous summer soup. And, it's kind of been mine, having that shift. I mean, I have to say, I still like a salad in the summer. And the other day, this weekend, I made myself a salad. I was like, Teresa would probably have me cook all this. I am eating it cold, uncooked. And then the other thing is this big aha about, always drinking while I eat. So I've trained my body to not make digestive enzymes, and to create the shift of not, well, first off, not needing to drink while I'm eating because of the imbalances that I've created over a long time, my whole life, right? And as I was listening to you, that I was thinking, oh my God, how long is it going to take me to train my body to create the digestive enzymes again? I guess I'll have to eat some apples and chew them. So trigger, make digestive enzymes, make digestive enzymes, and yeah.
That's true though. A simple exercise, and I'll give you this because I do qigong and tai chi and Dao Yin, different things that are medicinal movements as well for the body. But this is a form of Dao Yin. And that was one of the first movements, medicinal movements that they gave to the emperors were the Dao Yin movements. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's taking your teeth and clacking them together for 40 times. Like a snapping, like a little skull, you just what is that? Tap your teeth 40 times. And meanwhile, what you're doing is you're taking your tongue and on the inside of your mouth, you're going from circulating from to the left 5 times and then to the right 5 times. And you're going to click your teeth 40 times. So during the 40 times of clicking your teeth, you're mouth washing with your tongue, or you're gum washing with your tongue in left counterclockwise and then clockwise. And then you hold your saliva or the digestive enzyme juice at your throat. You don't swallow during this time.
Okay.
And at the end of that time, you're going to have some saliva built up.
Yep.
And then you swallow it in increments of 3. one time, you swallow one time, keeping 2/3 of the saliva there, and then another time, and then a third time. And then you let that go down and just feel it going down. That is a very medicinal movement that helps you build up that digestive enzyme juice.
So 40 clicks of the teeth, and then 5 swipes around the left, and 5 swipes to the right, and 3 swallows. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Yeah. Ashley said that sounds so gross.
Yeah, I agree. But like I was like, how do I reboot my digestive enzymes? So I'm like so happy that I have something that I can do to reboot my digestive enzymes. I'm all over that. You already have me on the apple and the walking and the feeling if my thing is open. We also have a question. From one of the participants is asking, does it matter what blood type you are, with the medicinal foods? Does that
matter? I haven't studied the blood types, honestly. I mean, I did a little bit a long time ago, but I don't even remember that. I'm sure there's a correlation, but I don't know what that is. So okay. I would work with your doctor on that. Yeah. I'm sure this is not going to affect your blood type. I mean, I would definitely work with your doctor with those foods. There's a lot of foods to eat. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's foods that you can find that are in harmony with a blood type.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this is all exciting. I mean, I've already gotten new things and I've been working with you, so I'm super excited to apply the new things that I've learned. And if you want to join us, let me just click over. So if you love what you have heard from Teresa and you'd like to work with her, you can direct message her on Facebook at Teresa Padilla, or you can email her at spiritualrenewalretreats@gmail.com and work directly with her. If you'd like to be a part of Portals of Deconditioning, going through the I Ching wheel with us, Teresa's involved with us and some other people. We try to embody the energy. You can join us at academy.unlockwithyourdesign.com, or we put up a bit.ly link, bit.ly/64doors-courses, and we're giving a coupon for 10% off for the Liberator and the Initiator if you want to just try one or two specific doors, or if you'd like to join us for the whole all of the 64 archetypes, doors, wheels, hexes, gates, as we go through the whole year in Portals of Deconditioning. You can join us, and we're offering you a coupon code to join us. So Teresa, I'm so excited I feel so very privileged that you are gifting the world this wisdom that you have been working on for 20 years through the series. And I feel like it will change the world when people can nourish themselves with the food they eat. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And for everybody who's watching, we will be live with Teresa. This time it's Tuesdays, 1:45 through July, and the last one is the first week in August, the first Tuesday in August. So that will be our Living the Body Series 2. If you're into Gene Keys and human design, we will be making the connections, and we look forward to you joining us. And thank you to everyone who posted a question. And
can I say one thing, Simone?
Oh, please.
1:45 is it ET time or Pacific time, and then 3:45 Eastern time and then 8:45 UTC time, right?
Yes, that's correct. I'm so glad you said that. So 1:45 Pacific, 4:45 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern, and then 8:45 UTC. So yeah, we put that in the chat too for you, for everyone. So what a great day. Thank you for everyone who joined us. Thank you, Teresa. Great. What a great hour. I feel like I'm so blessed with all the wisdom you've shared. And I've been working with Teresa as we create the whole series, and I feel like it is really value packed. So we hope to see you next Tuesday at 1:45.
Yeah, and thank you. And you can still, if you know somebody who wants to sign up, they can sign up anytime. And you don't have to be here. You can watch the replays, right?
Totally.
Anytime.
Let me give the let me grab the, if you're watching live or you're watching the replay and you would like to join us, I have that information written down. Let me just get it and I'll read it off. It is, I'm gonna put it in the chat and then read it off. It is https://bit.ly/LTB2, that means living the body 2 dash cauldron. So if you want to join us live so you can ask questions, everyone who joined live was able to ask questions and Teresa was able to answer those. So if you would like to be an engaging part of the series, join us at bit.ly/LTB2 dash cauldron. And you can be a part and bring your questions. So thanks, Teresa. Thanks for that reminder. And we will see you guys next week.